The thing I love most about indie games is they get to go boldly where other games do not. They are the creative boiling pot, the experimental breeding ground, the science lab of innovation. And the reason is because there's no suits. There's no suits, or at least very few suits, above just the developers and their own ideas. There's nobody saying that's not going to sell very well, this isn't going to make us millions of dollars, because that's not the intention. Hundreds of indie games are released every single year. The problem is a lot of them are garbage. Some of them are just right down the middle. Some of them are genre defining. Your Hollow Knights, your Celestes. Actually though, there's a lot of good indie games that just don't really get the time of day. So with that in mind, on today's review, imagine battling monsters with your guitar. That's the bold pitch behind Fretless, the Wrath of Riffson, a fresh genre mashup that blends rhythm games, deck building, and JRPG elements. The game showcases music, but not just as atmosphere, but as your weapon. So let's dive into today's review, Fretless, the Wrath of Riffson. Developed by Ritual Studios and published by Playdigious Originals, Fretless launched on July 17th, 2025, exclusively for PC, and it is Steam Deck friendly. I know this because for those of you with a keen eye will have noticed that I've not uploaded in a couple of weeks on YouTube, and that's because I absolutely bricked my PC. I was fucking about in BIOS, and I managed to corrupt all my Windows files. So I spent the last week or so on the Steam Deck, and that's where I played Fretless. So it wasn't until I was about halfway through this game before I even realised that this game is based on Rob Scallon. For those of you who don't know who Rob Scallon is, he's a YouTuber famous for basically playing guitar on the internet. He's the guy who did Psychosocial on the banjo. Come on, you must have seen this video. Anyway, I've not looked into it too deeply, his connection to the game, but from what I understand, it's basically his buddies that created this game. And you know, because Rob's got like 2.5 million on YouTube, I think he basically bankrolled this operation, at least for the longest time, until the publishers picked it up. And in the game, you actually play as Rob. So in the game, Rob is an upcoming musician, and you kind of start in your bedroom like a lot of JRPGs. And on the TV, there's this call to action for people to go sign up to this Battle of the Bands. So you set off on your journey, and basically you are drawn into this world where zany villains are corrupting the world of music. It's a tale where the very real problem of music corruption is brought to life through enemies and monsters, and danger lurks in every chord. You like that one? Your goal is to take down Rick Riffson, chief CEO of Super Metal Records. And Rick's using the very Battle of the Bands that you saw on your TV screen at the start of the game to tighten the grip on the music industry by trapping the best musicians and stealing their souls. Sound familiar? The narrative is fun and simple, campy but charming, and as a result the game is littered with music humour throughout, along with top-down RPG staples, shops, side towns, boss battles, all of which keep things engaging throughout. Visually, Fretless looks awesome. It is fully crisp pixel art. Every inch of this game has a beautiful, vibrant backdrop. Despite the pixel art, the character animations, especially during combat, shine with personality. They look awesome. Environments like forests and snowy peaks are packed with musical Easter eggs, like chime-playing flowers and instrument-themed enemies. It's stylish, it's cozy, but it's not revolutionary. One of the things that I enjoy the most about the game, as someone who loves music myself, is just how much they've kind of like doubled down on the music thing. Like, music has become the combat, which we'll touch on in just a little bit. There is things that make music within the world. The soundtrack itself is fucking awesome. Your weapons are your guitars. Like, they've really doubled down on the music thing, except really in the environments. Towards the back end of the game, there's like a stage that you play the show on, which was a really cool environment. There's like a backstage area that you can explore and things like that. There's like music themed areas, and I just wish that they'd have kind of doubled down on that earlier on in the game. You know, why not have a world in a recording studio, on a tour bus, at a music festival? It would be cool to see him head out on tour and the game actually move on a tour bus through the worlds, that sort of thing. If anything though, where this game shines is in its gameplay, which is kind of ideal for a game. At its core is turn-based combat powered by deck building. So it's a bit like Slay the Spire. You have your deck, your cards at the bottom, each one is a riff, and you can string 3 riffs together as a sequence, and that basically becomes your attack on the enemies. Some of them do damage, some of them add buffs, some of them put shield on yourself. You unlock 4 instruments throughout the game: acoustic guitar, bass, synth, and the best one, 8-string electric. Each one of those comes with unique mechanics and their own unique thematic deck. Timing also matters within the combat. Pressing the right button at the right time during your attacks or enemy attacks will either block some of the damage or increase the damage that you do to the enemies. The window in which you get to do this is kind of, it doesn't feel very forgiving at the beginning of the game, but you do get used to it. I guess when you first start playing the game, you're not really used to the soundtrack, and naturally your brain kind of wants to go off the visual cues because that's how it is in most other games. Actually, where you'll succeed with that is when you realize that these are kind of on beat. These things are on the rhythm of the soundtrack. And depending on, you know, how good your rhythmic skills are, I think you'll probably end up finding that pretty easy as the game goes along. There's also rhythm-based mini-games baked into the combat during your powerful crescendo moves, which are essentially your ults. So there's kind of a lot to contend with there, but mash it all together and the result, a reasonably satisfying blend of Slay the Spire, Paper Mario and Guitar Hero. But there are a couple of downsides to the gameplay. The combat can feel pretty easy, especially when you've mastered your deck, and the limited difficult modes means it doesn't scale over time. One of the great things about Slay the Spire is the difficulty ceiling just keeps moving and moving and moving, so as you get better at the game gets harder, and that's kind of one of the best tropes really about deck building games, is that you really have to think carefully about which moves you will move and how you will string your attacks together. There's not so much of this in Fretless. It can be very forgiving. Don't get me wrong, there are times when it's moderately challenging, but overall it's a very easygoing RPG, and that in some ways kind of like pushes up against itself with the amount of kind of gameplay mechanics that they have included in the game. Like, it's got JRPG elements, it's got rhythm game elements, it's got deck building elements, all of which are mechanics in their own right that can be quite deep and interesting and can kind of formulate really interestingly complex difficulty systems where you kind of have to master the gameplay in order to achieve the goal at the end of the game. You kind of really don't have to do this in Fretless. Everything is kind of a bit surface level, and I would have liked to have seen them take that further, or at least implemented difficulty levels which brought that out in the game. Performance wise, I really didn't have many issues, especially being that I played this game pre-launch, so there hadn't been any patches or anything out when I played it. On the PC, performance and stability was fantastic. On the Steam Deck, it was just as good. Like I said, I started the gameplay the first hour, maybe hour and a half on the PC before I fucking destroyed it, and then I had to switch and do the rest of it on the Steam Deck, and it ran perfectly fine. There's a few minor bugs here and there, but nothing game breaking, just a couple of visual things really, but all of which are patch bound down the line most likely. It's a clearly polished indie effort with strong technical stability. So the big question, value for money. Clocking in at around 6 to 8 hours, Fretless is a compact but energetic ride priced at approximately £10 to £15 or $15 to $20. It's currently sitting at £12.79 on the UK Steam page. And if you love any of the things that I've talked about, old school JRPGs, deck building, rhythm games, music, this is going to be a captivating offer. User reviews on Steam are overwhelmingly positive, and for that price, why not? That's a couple of decent evenings of gameplay that you'll get out of it. But if you're looking for endless content or a challenge, Fretless is going to feel a little light on its feet. Still, for me, it's a great pick for its mix of mechanics, charm, and value. So let's conclude. Fretless, The Wrath of Riffson is a clever musical RPG that shreds in mostly all the right ways. It nails rhythm-driven combat and deck building in a colourful pixel world, and most importantly, it is filled with musical whimsy. If you love music, you're gonna just find joy in this game. The soundtrack is absolutely killer as well. While the challenge is definitely on the easy side and the content is concise, the experience is bright, fun, and memorable nonetheless. So for that reason, we are giving Fretless, The Wrath of Riffson a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and comment on the video below. Let me know if you've played Fretless and what you thought of it. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.